Hi guys, welcome back to the Fight Podcast with
Sharir.
This is your cue. We've done this before.
Hey,
And me, Jan. Hi.
Hey, how
Hi,
you
Sharir.
doing?
Nice to have you back.
How you doing?
You see my shirt?
I see your shirt.
We could have worn matching shirts today. This could have been a matching shirt day, you know?
Yeah.
You decided against that? Was this like a conscious decision?
I think it's a little strange.
You don't like to wear the same clothes as other men around you?
If it's
How did you manage the army then?
uniform is a little different. Yeah.
It's like tactical pajamas.
Since your shirt is like really pink.
And there's a unicorn on it.
It's black. It's black, guys. And it says beast on it. But yeah.
The funny thing is, nobody, even my friends, when I wore this like around, nobody talked about the fact that it says beast on it, which is pretty on the nose. With you, it's funny because it's kind of true, you know. But it's like with me, I'm not sure. It looks funny when I wear beast. No, but
you're a beast. Come on.
We should.
Stop being so modest.
we should do beast rash guards. ICCS beast rash guards.
Yeah, they get it done. Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. Okay. So we're starting off the podcast with a little business idea.
Okay.
We got it going here. When we talk about what we do in ICCS, or what you do mostly in ICCS, we talk a lot about what gave you. How do you approach these topics? How do you deal with certain things? What's your idea behind the way that you create the lessons that you do create? What's your goals with ICCS? But we rarely talk about the fact all of the work that you do for ICCS, with ICCS, however you would call it, it takes a lot of discipline. It's not just a thing where you wake up and you're like every day. It just the one thing you want to do is something like record a video for ICCS or something. Like some days it's more, some days it's probably less. Would you agree?
No.
Okay, good. So then let's dive into that. Why is it that you always like? What's the thing that keeps you disciplined enough to not only create all of ICCS, but also train with weights every single day? I've seen you train heavy lift every single day that we've met, and also keep training yourself with technical stuff and also other people. Like especially with I've seen that with you and Annika with grappling, for instance, or with other people with wrestling. Yeah. You still send videos to people when you're here. Like
all the time.
Like it's never a day off. There's no days off.
Well, why would you want a day off for something that you love to do?
So that's the whole point. You focus on, if you had to do something where you wouldn't agree or where you wouldn't enjoy doing it, it's less of a thing where you could manage to stay so on topic.
Right. I just love it very much.
You love but is it
everything about it?
Every single thing about it. There's no part in ICCS where you're like, nah, that's, I don't know, that's annoying. Like some text filing stuff. Like there has to be something where you're not like, oh, this I enjoy 100%.
That's what I have an accountant for. I don't do that.
You outsource these things?
Yeah.
So the basic idea is just, it's not about being disciplined, it's just about enjoying what you do.
Of course you have to be disciplined.
But if you enjoyed every single thing, how would you need to be disciplined then?
I think it's a way of like, I don't know, I'm just a positive guy. But I look at it like kind of like a game, almost like life, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So like, you just enjoy the journey, you know?
What do you mean when you say game? Like, is it about winning? Is it just about playing?
It's just about playing. It's just about like an experience, you know? Like, hey, I wonder what's going to happen today, you know?
You wake up, you're like, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
So it's less about, with training, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with the lifting stuff. That's something, it's very straining, it's very hard on you. And especially if you haven't done it for a long time, it might be like a little shock to your system. Like, okay, I've lifted something that's very heavy. You might feel dizzy. Like there's all these components to it. Sometimes you might be injured and you still train. I've seen you do it. You're injured, or you have been injured and still trained. And there's this thing where people might say, okay, if someone is very comfortable, for instance, let's say someone, like there's a difference between doing something that you feel is fulfilling And then there's people who do things that they just, let's say, enjoy. Like there's a difference between having a good meal and feeling good about it, and then just eating a lot of chocolate, which makes you feel good in the moment, but it doesn't make you feel good in the long run. You know you know what I mean? The difference.
I don't really like chocolate that much. But I mean,
Okay.
take pizza.
There must be something
I
you
love
do.
Pizza.
Pizza, yeah, okay. Eating pizza every day
It makes me feel good all the time.
So if you ate pizza for the rest of your life, you think that's
Absolutely.
Then let's take something else, like something unhealthy, like energy drinks or something.
Okay.
Okay, if you drink that all of the time, it's not good on your body.
Good for you, no.
Okay, but you might enjoy it in the moment.
Maybe.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if people live in this area where they're constantly comfortable, think the way we talked about this in the last episode, like the way we organize ourselves, people have access to a life where it's just very comfortable most of the time. They have to do a job or something, so they have enough money to do very comfortable things most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so getting out of that and starting with, let's say, heavy lifting, starting with something like with fighting. I've never done this before. This might feel very hard on me at the beginning. I'm very bad at this at first, so I have to start with something I don't feel comfortable with. You do this every single day, and I've never seen you take a break. So it must be, it's not just the comfort. It's not a comfortable thing to do. So how do you keep up the discipline to still do it every day, even when you're not on top of things?
Well, like, for example, I think it's good always to remember, like, the why. Because, like, sometimes you're in the shit, basically, and, you know, so you have this motivation, or even if you have discipline and you start training, start doing something, but then you do it again and again. It starts becoming grueling, sometimes boring,
repetitive,
all that stuff. And then when you don't see, you always, you know, the big picture. So sometimes it's hard to do it. But if you stop for a second and you remember why you're doing it, like what's your goal, and you're doing what you're doing, it always motivates you for that second, and it gives you that discipline again for that next set or next phone call, whatever it is you want to do.
So you think discipline doesn't work without motivation, or like at least a goal?
Motivation doesn't work without discipline, of course. Motivation works for like 5 minutes. You know, you know, people get motivated by someone else, something that they saw, a movie or a speech, and then it's great for 5 minutes. But when you start sweating, or when you get injured, or when you didn't sleep at night, or you're hungry, then let's see, then let's see how motivated you really are. But I think if you're disciplined, and discipline is a habit. I don't think motivation is a habit, but discipline you could form into a habit, and then no matter the circumstance, you'll work your way around it. You know.
So if you start to build discipline because you already have built this thing, but for people who are starting to or who are interested in building this kind of discipline, you have to start doing something that's very uncomfortable. So it's not a habit yet, and for starting something that becomes a pattern that you do over and over again, you have to go through this part where it's just shitty. And you say, or is that the point?
What's shitty?
Like the first time you lift weights, afterwards you're sore. You're super sore.
Right, you're super sore. So why is that shitty?
It doesn't make you feel good in the moment. You have pain. Also, it's something that it's just uncomfortable.
It's
maybe
growing pain.
That's what I mean.
You could transmute it like you know, the bad feeling to a good feeling. Like, I feel sore because I trained. I'm proud of myself. It means like I'm getting stronger, maybe.
Like this is a sign of improvement.
It's a great thing, yeah. I'm tired at the end of the day. Okay, no matter what you're going to do, you'll probably be tired at the end of the day. But are you tired because you're being productive and you're doing things for yourself, for the people around you, like good things? Or you're tired because you're wasting your day? Another day was wasted, you know? So why, if you're going to be tired anyway, if you're going to die anyway, I mean...
why not make something out of it?
Exactly.
So it's the idea of the first time you do these things and it's very hard on you. You haven't built a pattern yet. You haven't built a steady, like a repetition basis yet. It's about having a goal in mind, and that keeps you going over that first hurdle.
Yeah, like you have a goal, and then you have a plan, and then you start executing the plan. And I think it's important also because to be flexible with the plan, like with the how. Not with the goal. Like if you have a goal, you shouldn't be very flexible with that. Like that's your goal, so do it. But you know, sometimes you think I could do it like this, and then you get to some some challenges and say, oh, wait a second, it cannot be done like this. So then a lot of people just give up. But if you're flexible enough to change the plan, not the goal, there's always another way.
So you should stick to your goal. But if you're running into obstacles that are not traversable, then it's about changing the approach angle you take to the goal.
The plan, exactly.
Also, you learn. Sometimes you learn, especially with weights, for instance.
What you think you know, basically you don't really know anything. And you learn that every day. If you're willing to learn, you learn every day. Basically, that's another day. What I thought I knew yesterday, I mean today I know much more. So same thing with training, same thing with martial arts, or with anything, I guess.
So the goal should be set, but you should keep an open mind to the strategy, to the
keep
milestones.
An open mind.
Maybe
the plan should be flexible, because what you think the best plan is right now, maybe in a week or 2 weeks or 2 years from now, say, you know what, I have a better way of doing it now.
And if I think something that is very interesting to me is if you are either injured or you wake up and for some reason you haven't slept good, there's stress in your life, there's something going on with you, so you don't perform the way that you might want to perform according to the plan that you have set out for yourself. How do you deal with that? You could call it a setback. How would you deal with that if you feel, okay, maybe I'm injured? How do I go about reaching my goal now that some circumstances have changed from the outside, that are out of my control? It's not about my motivation. It's not about my goal here. I still have that set, but for some reason, something external keeps me from working out, like an injury.
There's nothing that could keep. You have control over your attitude all the time. Sometimes you don't have control over other stuff. I can't control whatever you're thinking, or sometimes you can't control an injury, but you can control your attitude towards it. Your attitude towards everything you can control, so that's what I try to do. And like, for example, now I'm injured a little bit, the past 3 months actually already, but I'm still training every single day. I just had to change my training plan a little bit.
So it's about keeping the consistency even though you have setbacks. So lower maybe the requirements, but still keep. That's what you mean.
Not lower the requirements, just work around it. I'm working around it right now for the past 3 months.
So maybe like less weight, but still you have the goal in mind.
For example,
so it might
less
be a little
weight or a different workout plan, but the goal is still in mind, in the same one.
And I think it's important also to talk about how. I think if you wake up, you have to work out. You don't feel comfortable doing it. Maybe you go to the gym. You won't be able to, like, the whole approach. It's if you go in with the mindset of no, I have to work out. It's a chore. Then you won't really get that far. I think it's about enjoying something that might not seem to be enjoyable to other people. Especially when I talk to people who are not that fit, who are trying to get into this whole, like, they're trying to shape up, they're trying to be strong or whatever. And sometimes they're stuck in this mindset of, but this is uncomfortable. Every time I do it, I hate it. And can you describe how you switched into, I enjoy doing something that's hard? Because I've seen you do a lot of hard things, but
it's like it's like a challenge. So like challenge yourself a little bit, like it's you gotta enjoy the journey, that's basically it. You have to enjoy the journey. You could either like lift heavy weight, or again, heavy weight for each person at his own level, and like stress from every set, or like enjoy it and enjoy the fact that it's hard. Oh, that was great. Even lie to yourself a little bit at first, and with time, it's going to become real.
So it's about you start your journey, and you have to keep your goal in mind, but the reward for your workout is not the goal. You should start.
The reward is a journey. I think that's everybody could have their own idea, but sometimes when you reach your goal, it's like, now what? It's a little bit like, okay, it's not what I thought. But you have to enjoy the journey. If you're depressed the whole way there, it's not even worth it.
It doesn't work, yeah. So it's about trying to enjoy doing something hard. That's something that gives you joy. Like if you work out, it increases it increases your strength, but it's also very focused on, okay, the whole process of lifting, the whole process I do here, the whole thing, I enjoy doing it.
Exactly.
And that's something you get to by lying to yourself.
Not lying to it's not lying to yourself. It's
reframing.
It's changing your attitude. It's not a lie. You be positive or you be negative. Just be positive.
I think that's something that I've noticed with, especially when I moved to like my own place. It's something where you notice at some point cleaning up that might have been a chore before. If you notice that,
just change your mind about it.
Yeah,
and
because you know you're doing it for yourself, and then the whole progress becomes something that you enjoy doing.
I think a positive state of mind and a negative state of mind, they can't live together. They can't occupy the same space. So if you're positive, that's it. You're not going to be negative at the same time, you know. So just enjoy working out. Yeah, I got a great. I have to work out today. It's amazing. Oh, that set was great. You felt it. It was hard. I love that feeling. You know, and then with time, it becomes. It was real from the very, very beginning, but you can convince yourself for that. You know, same thing with everything. I think.
Also, I've noticed that for some reason, since I've taken more of that approach to working out, there were less injuries during the workout. I noticed. I'm not sure why that happened, but before, especially when you were like, okay, this is a chore, I have to do it, whatever, you didn't focus on the whole thing. As far as if you approach it in a light where you know why you're doing it, but that's not the whole purpose. You do it and you enjoy the process doing it.
People look for excuses to stop. So the first excuse, they'll stop. Oh, I'm a little in my back, my knee, my this, you know. But if you just don't look for excuses to stop, you look for ways to continue. That's a much better approach. You know, people say you're crazy. You know, you're gonna hurt yourself more. That's also usually, of course, you should listen to your body a little bit, maybe not too much. But
you don't have to look for signs that aren't there.
Just work around it.
It'll warn you. I think that's a.
And there's much more injuries for people who don't train than people who do train. Like, okay, you have a little bit tennis elbow or rotator cuff is inflamed a little bit because your lift's too heavy. Okay, but at least I don't have fat
dislocated disc or something.
Disc sitting down all day in front of a computer, and my heart is not like about to explode.
I think also if you focus on that part and if you enjoy the workout, you will focus on proper form more. So, for instance, if your point is not to be like, okay, I have to get this done, so at the end of the day I will have the beach body, but you focus on the process itself, you will make it as hard as possible on yourself in the frame that you still can manage it. And I think that's where most growth comes from, not from just getting through it, but from focusing on that part.
Working out doesn't have to be hard necessarily. It is usually, but it has to be smart. Not always the hardest workout is the best workout. That's why you should have a plan and go with the plan, and have a goal and then a plan to the goal. But it doesn't have to be I kill myself every single workout. No, what I do personally is I make it okay. This next workout. Okay, this next squat session, whatever, this is going to be the best one I ever had. And then it's not always the best one. Usually it's not. But that's the frame of mind going into the workout. If you have that frame of mind going in, one thing for sure, it's going to be a good workout. I do the same thing when I teach a class. I want this to be the best class I ever gave. It doesn't matter if there's 6 people or 30 people in the class. So it's not necessarily the best class I ever gave. Sometimes it is. But it's always a good class. If you go in like, man, I have to work now, I don't really feel like teaching, then people feel it. The whole vibe is shit. So yeah.
And how would you say if you put people sometimes like perfectionists, they have this issue that they're never content with the stuff they did. You said, okay, this has to be the best lesson of my life. It usually isn't the very best, but it's still a good one. So you still feel like, yeah, I've done something which works. Like I've done something that is a good product.
Look, it's not. It can't always be the best, but you have to always strive for the best. Sometimes students compete, especially like more beginners, I tell them like before a competition, listen, go in there and give 100% of what you can. So do it for yourself, because afterwards there's only one chance. Once you're in there, you cannot correct it. Afterwards, you always ask yourself, I should have done this, I should have done that. So instead of doing that, just go in there. And when you come out of the competition or out of the fight, you could tell yourself, you look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself, no matter win or lose, I know that I gave 100% of what I had.
Mm-hmm.
That's always a good feeling,
Why do you think that like giving 100% and still failing is better than not even giving 100%?
Because you don't really fail when you give 100%. You learn, and it's an attitude thing. So you look at it as failure. I look at it as a learning curve. Okay, that's one way not to do it. Let's find another way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But it could be losing could actually be potentially the best thing that ever happened to you. What if you win like an easy fight? What did you learn?
Not much, yeah.
Nothing much, especially if your opponent's no good. Right?
It just pushes your ego, but there's not much you can benefit from there, yeah.
Right. What if every lifting session is easy? What did you learn?
Mm-hmm.
Right. But if sometimes it's hard, then it forces you to go back and look at your technique. Maybe your head is not high enough. Maybe you should be pushing your chest out a little more.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with everything.
I think that's why good fighters are usually very humble, because you see they have to have been humbled a lot to get to the place where they are at, because that's the learning curve. And I think that's I've heard, I'm not sure who said that, but in an interview I heard Bas Rutten said it. He was like, usually the people who are not genetically that gifted but have to work for it are the most furious competitors, because he says they have to strive for it. There's a work mentality there, whilst those who are very gifted, who are usually the best in the gym at first, they don't develop that same attitude towards struggle, towards striving for something, and then sometimes they fall off at a certain point. Would you agree that's a thing?
That makes sense.
So it's about having a healthy relationship with struggle.
I don't really call it struggle, but yeah, it's about discipline.
Mm-hmm.
You learn to work hard. You get that habit. You learn. It's about attitude. How you look at failure, look at life. So if you have a goal and you really believe you can get that goal, losing one or two or not being successful in something, it's not going to stop you. It's okay. Let's try another approach.
Mm-hmm.
Talk is easy. Motivation is easy, but discipline is the hard part.
I think it's interesting. You said earlier that you have to keep your goal in mind, and the plan is still a little flexible. And if you talk with, let's say you have one of the fighters in your gym, that can apply to other areas in life. But let's say one of the fighters in your gym, he's new, but he wants to compete. You want to train him. How do you approach finding that goal? Is it, I want to win that competition? Is it, I want to be the best fighter I can possibly?
You can have a big goal, let's say one really, really big one, and a lot of small goals, on the way to that big one too.
So the big one might be, I want to be the best fighter I can, and then one of the goals inside might be, I want to win that competition.
This little small weekend competition, or this little match, stuff like that. Or I want to have a great session with the weights. I want to be able to do 5 times 5 of this weight, or stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Because you said if you reach that goal, sometimes if that's the only motivator, you said, okay, I can hit this wall, and then there's nothing there. And how do you keep, for instance, your guys from reaching a point where they're like, okay, I've done this.
I try to teach discipline. That's how I do it. Always look for something new to do. Also, once you like the work, it becomes something of joy.
You don't have to work towards something anymore.
Exactly.
So the whole working process itself is something that gives you joy, so you don't have to have the goal in mind anymore.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you should have a goal in mind, but that helps a lot. That whole, it's a labor of love. It becomes a labor of love.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's easier. If you don't like what you do, then it's never gonna really, you're never really gonna be successful in that part.
Mm-hmm. So if you talk about goals with fighting or with getting stronger, are your personal goals something where, is it like a general thing you think about, or is it certain things you have to reach? Let's say I want to have 3 more ICCS gyms in that area? Is it as precise as that, or is it more of a general thing where you're like, okay, I want to feel this way, I want to have these
with ICCS specifically, or
no, in general, like ICCS is part of it, but how if you're talking about goals, I think it's hard to understand how specific or unspecific should they be to keep you disciplined.
Each one is decide that for himself. I think I think that as specific as they are, it's just easier to reach. If it's really specific, down to the color of the house you want or whatever, I think it might be a little easier, But everyone can do it the way they want to do it. I just love to teach. One of my goals is to bring the best product to my students, and the growth comes from there, I think.
How do you go about making the plans for those students, for instance? If you say, okay, we have established a goal. We talked about, okay, I want to be a strong person. I want to compete in this or that, and maybe something more specific. If you approach, I think that's the issue with most people. They don't have a plan to reach those. They have dreams, they have ideas, but it's like, how do you go about planning these things?
Put it on, take a pen, take a paper, and put it down. Plan.
Yeah, but the person has to have a concept of how to get there. And the issue is, if they don't, it's
so plan to get a concept. Start from zero. Start where you stand. But don't. That's an excuse. There's always excuses. Right? Why not? Why not to do? That's a good example of an excuse. I don't know how. Most people get stuck on the how. That's the thing, right? Here's what I want, and then how are you gonna do it? Well, I don't know. So yeah, you're right. Let's forget about it.
So it's about having everything.
Even a goal could be find out how to do it. Just start studying. Today with the internet, you can study anything you want by yourself. So instead of watching Netflix, you can start studying. You'll find a way.
I think also sometimes it helps you reframe things you're doing. So for instance, I once had this design job, and I found it to be, it didn't really inspire me. So it was like, okay, now I have to do that because I committed to it, but I'm not sure if I really enjoy it, whatever. And then I thought about what I could do with the project. So one, I could just like try out new stuff. And also I knew where the money would go because I needed it for something else. And when I reframed it for something where I could make up the bigger picture, like, okay, I wanted to get some stuff for the bike so I could go someplace. And then it was like, I really enjoy going somewhere with my bike, like a long trips. So I would reframe the stuff that I would do to how does it fit into me being a happy person. And then the little chores don't even feel like chores anymore because you have reframed them to be something that is beneficial to what you're doing.
Because you see why you're doing it. Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's a very important thing where when you say you don't have to super specifically know the way that you will achieve those goals, it's still about reframing everything you do into how does it help me to reach my goal, and if it doesn't, stop doing it.
Yeah, that's true. Also, I think you get a lot of information during the day with your phone or whatever. People always watching and getting more and more information. I like to I only take in information personally that would help me reach one of my goals. If it's not, I just shut it off. I don't even watch it. I don't listen to it either. Right? If someone is speaking to you, whatever, he's being all like complaining, and so I'm not going to be rude and like walk away, even though I would like to. I would just put on like made up earmuffs and like you nod and smile, but I would finish the conversation as fast as I can.
You wouldn't let it reach you.
Yeah, and I would totally forget about it a second later. Unless I'm trying to help that person, totally forget about it a second later. Just bringing into my mind things that help me with what I'm trying to do. So it's always up there in your mind, and the edge of your brain is always like things that may interest you or may interest you in the future for reaching that goal.
So with people who are close to you, who are friends maybe or associates, it's still different because you're like, okay, the friendship still benefits me in some way, because it's not about just, okay, this doesn't benefit me directly, so fuck that person. Like, I don't want to talk to that person because...
of course not. Of course not. If people who know me know I'm always helping friends. But
I know, but
even if you're helping a friend, let's say you have a problem, you come with your problem, I will do everything I could to help you with the problem, but I will forget about it afterwards because it's not my problem. It's still your problem. No matter what you'll do about it, I can't help you by making it my problem too, right? So I would do everything I could to help you, but still I'm not taking your problem into me, right? Maybe the next day I'll try to help you again, but not by taking someone else's problem, making your own problem, you're not being helpful, not to him or not to you.
So you shouldn't take it home with you. That's the idea.
Absolutely not.
Is there like a certain way you do that, or is that just like a capability that you have?
It's just something I thought about. I don't know.
No, but I think it's really interesting because I think that's something that oftentimes people struggle with, because not only is it with like friends or family sometimes and they sit and they think about it, but also it's about things where it's not their problem yet. Like sometimes when you're worried about stuff,
you make it your own problem.
Yeah. You take a problem from the future and manifest it now. It's like, okay, now I have that problem, even though it's not even there yet.
Yeah. So stop it.
so just stop.
That's what I'm trying to say. Exactly what I'm trying to say. Stop doing that. You know, just stop with the drama. And also, like, you know, if you could do something about it, so then do something about it, you know?
But that's already, again, taking something towards the goal. Like not failing in this or not doing that. But then it's about, okay, I still have a work in progress.
Like, you know, also sometimes, you know, you have a plan and then you have certain things like you're not sure how you're going to do it. You're not sure what's the solution for that problem. But that should stop you from kind of starting to do what you do know how to do. And if you start, I always guarantee you that when you get to that problem you thought about, you're ready to find a bridge to cross it. You will find it when you get there. But if you don't even start, you're not going to, of course, ever find any solution.
I noticed that with even every time you do something crafty, be it something very simple, but also if you're very into crafts like woodwork or something, every time you try to make something and you have a goal in mind, and it doesn't align with the work you have, like the working piece, maybe it's wood, maybe it has some attributes that don't really work with the thing you have in mind. If you're super rigid in that thing, like it has to be exactly that, and I know exactly how to do it, and it doesn't perform like that.
You have to be flexible.
You have to be flexible, because then it can be like something that's artful.
Not with your goal, but with the rest, you should be flexible. Also with people, if you're not flexible with people, not many people are going to like you. I mean, if you have a stick up your ass, so many people are not going to they're not going to like you. Maybe they might be kind with you or on a work relationship with you because they have to, but after that, they're not going to like you. But if you learn to be flexible with people, you know, other people's opinions, especially other people's tastes, people will like you more. You know?
Flexible meaning accepting, but still keeping your own integrity.
You can accept any person's opinion if it makes sense. Still, you can make your own. You know, you're smart enough to make your own choices, your own opinions, but you can listen to other people. You know, be flexible, be a little bit interested in what they have to say. You know.
I think the most important or the most fascinating thing is when you talk to someone who really has like a passion for something. Because every time there's a passion, I might not understand the passion. I've met like a little boy who was super into he knew everything about certain trains and the colors and whatever. And let me be honest, but I'm not that kind of guy. But still, it was interesting to see him very passionately talking about these trains.
It's impressive.
It's not only is it impressive, but there is something real there. And I think when people lose their passion, when they don't have passion talking about anything, then there's nothing. There's no.
Yeah.
What is there to engage with?
I think that's if someone talks about, at least personally, if someone talks to me about something with passion, even if for me the subject is a little boring, it's interesting to listen to him.
Yeah, you can still listen. Yeah,
it's like wow, dude, you know, you really like butterflies, you know, whatever. But yeah,
I've heard like a 3-hour podcast. The whole topic was bees, just talking about bees. But she was so well informed. There was so much stuff she talked about. I was like, okay, I didn't know that I find bees interesting, but now I have to keep reading on, like, it's reading up on bees. And I think that's something where real passion with people who are open-minded, it can be infectious. And I think that's something where if you're a good coach, if you wanna teach in a way that people can relate to it, you have to be passionate about the thing you're teaching.
That's why I started off. First thing I said, I love what I do.
It makes the teaching way easier. If you're not into the stuff you're teaching, or if you teach something in a way that you're forced to do, I think that's where you hit a wall. That's where you stop improving. That's where you stop really. People can't engage with you the same way, and I think that's also very hard on people coming in. They notice there's something lacking there.
Of course, people feel it.
And I think that's when especially with some martial arts, not in the like the very traditional ones. I think that's something where they kind of lack, because it's a very sterile environment. It's very, I say this, you do this. It's not about passion. It's about like order, and I think that's where
maybe even there, if you have passion, I'm sure you have a lot of instructors there with passion. And I'm sure it's great. It doesn't really matter what you do, as long as you love what you do. It's like you said, it's contagious.
Mm-hmm.
People are like, they're like, man, that's cool, you know.
And if I thought about you told me once about the like new recruits, and sometimes at first you have to have like more distance, and at some point you break it, so there's like a difference. And I've heard you talk about like the part where it's very distanced, where you said, I don't really enjoy that part, but I still have to do it. And it's like, and if you teach that, is it still about, okay, it will progress to that point, so I will enjoy it then, so I can now get through this part where...
No, it's not, I understand why I do it.
Mm-hmm. So it has a purpose, so you can still do it very well. Okay. Yeah. So basically I don't
enjoy being distant with someone, or like, you know, quote unquote punishing someone. But if you understand why you're doing it, you know, it's for the reasons why you're doing it. You know, so of course it's much easier to do it, and you understand why it's so important to do it. And
especially I think in the military, because it's different in the way that if you're teaching someone one-on-one in fighting, or in like competition fighting, or in street fighting, it's basically that person committing to something, wanting to learn for themselves, and if it doesn't work out the way that you intend to, it's still a thing where it's their issue at the end of the day. And with the military, if one person fails and it's a group of 7, all of the other 6 have issues. So much, it's a different dynamic.
It's education too. You know, you're part of a bigger group, of a team.
Mm-hmm. So you have to stay focused on these things, and so punishment has a broader purpose there. It's not
punishment. It's education.
It's education. Yeah, it's also
you have to education, but it's education.
Mm-hmm.
You don't do it. You know, if there's an instructor who does it for the sake of doing it because he enjoys it, he should not be an instructor.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely not.
So the whole, I've heard that if I have some like fitness elements in the classes that I've given, like especially when you train, for instance, like core strength or something, which is very important for pretty much everything in fighting. I had this one girl come up to me and say, "You enjoy this shit, don't you?" And I'm like, "I don't enjoy this. You asked me, or you need to have this part be part in the training." And just because I instructed it in the way, like I talked about it very clearly, she was like, "You enjoy this. You're a sick bastard at heart." And I'm like, no, this is not how it works.
People tell me that too. So you enjoyed it? So I always say, yeah, I enjoy seeing you getting strong. Is that a problem?
That's a good way to respond.
Yeah.
I enjoy you.
That's also the truth.
Improving. Yeah, I was just like...
say, what, you don't enjoy getting stronger? And then they look at it from, I didn't think of that. It's true, I do. And that's how they'll be more motivated when they come back training.
I've seen you do this with the kids. You're like, who wants to be strong? I want to be strong. I do 5 push-ups to get strong. And it's like, shit, the wrong answer. But then you're like, no, that's not the wrong answer. You still want to be strong.
I don't think push-ups should be a punishment.
Yeah.
It should be a good thing. It's a good thing. Let's work out together. I also usually do it with them.
Mm-hmm. I think that's I think this might be a good summary.
Okay.
Do you wanna add something?
No, yeah, it's like your shirt.
I like it too, believe me. So see you guys next week with some other nice shirts.
Looking forward. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.